everybody. This is Brian and Cody back with another episode of Fourth and Dynasty. How we doing tonight, Cody?
Good. How about you?
Oh, we're post Super Bowl right now, so as much as I'm hurt, we're away from the season. God, it was a great game. A few more points, I would have been happier, but as far as entertainment value, I thought it was there. I was thoroughly excited. We had 5 quarters. Who didn't love that, right?
Yeah, you bet the unders, so you were probably pretty happy that my over of 47.5 and it ended up 47. I was not very happy about, but that happens every now and then.
Right. Sometimes Vegas they get one right.
They knew exactly, but yeah, like you said, overtime in the Super Bowl, you can't beat that.
Well, yeah, I'm excited. We're getting to prospect season. I just went through your wide receiver articles. They're on dynastypros.com. Loving those, and man, I'm excited to dive into these today. How about you?
Oh, I'm full swing. I've already done 40 prospects already, so I'm ready to dive in whenever.
Sweet. Well, let's jump off here with the Super Bowl. We had the Chiefs. They came on top 25-22. It was a close game there going all the way to the end of the 5th quarter, I guess. Patrick Mahomes getting his 3rd Super Bowl ring and Super Bowl MVP. I don't know. I found myself rooting for Patrick Mahomes all the way through the Super Bowl. And now that he has that 3rd ring, I'm getting Brady vibes. And I think I'm turning a little bit. Maybe not, but I don't know. Where are you at on that?
I agree totally. I agree totally. It was 2's fine, 3, all right. Now I'm sick of it. But it's more along the lines. I did like the rhetoric on X or Twitter afterwards, where the old Troy Aikman old Troy Aikman tweets when they were saying, when he has 3, then he can be considered the greatest. And now they were just dogging on Troy Aikman on that night. So it was really good. I loved that.
Yeah, not that I want to join in it because I'm sure this conversation is going to be all off season, but he is, I feel like, entering that conversation of, retiring tomorrow, Hall of Fame worthy already, and this guy's on the trajectory of being one of, if not the greatest of all time.
Yeah, he's on the trajectory, especially, do you even think he needs to get to 6? Like 4 or 5, yeah. But if he gets to 10 Super Bowls and he only wins 4 or 5, I think he would still be in the conversation for sure.
100%. I think just between that and the talent, because that's something that's always separated Brady for me. Brady may be the winningest player of all time. I don't look at him. He's not my GOAT as far as the greatest quarterback of all time.
Yeah.
I think you've got Peyton and Aaron Rodgers. That would be, my fighting spot for the best of all time. Whereas Brady he's able to put it all together. And yeah,
he was the one that wasn't selfish and didn't go for the money. He let the salary cap be its thing, and he got better players around him at some important positions. So,
well, we can't touch on the Super Bowl without maybe just dabbling in that halftime show. Usher going out there. I gotta ask, you a fan? Yes, no?
I liked it, but I am in that 30 range, so.
Yeah, that's that sweet spot. Yeah, it was me as well. This was nostalgic very much for me and the handful of people that were also in their 30s watching it at my house.
Yeah, I don't like that, the artists that I was a kid, because sometimes I don't feel like I'm old. But now that some of the people that I listened to as a kid is now being the halftime shows, that hurts a little bit. But other than that, it was still good.
100%. 100%. As far as the overtime rule, though, were any comments there? I know it's kind of monopolized the media over the last week or so, but do you have any strong feelings there on that one?
I'm with the majority. You have to kick first. You have to set the tone on how much the other team is going to get. Even if they're going to go for 2 on that second possession, playing for the 3rd possession is loser mentality in my opinion. Because then saying you're playing for the 3rd possession means you don't believe in your defense. Because if you take it first and then you score, then I believe in my defense is going to either get a stop or they have to go for 2 and then they'll get a stop there. So if I was a defensive player, I would have been mad when Shanahan said that.
100% agree, but I think it also sits in that point that Patrick Mahomes is kind of that exception to the rule. I think I am not a 49ers fan, so my heart's not broken after watching this game, but I almost can understand where Shanahan was coming from. Like, this is Patrick Mahomes. You're going to overthink some stuff. He clearly does in the Super Bowl anyway, but I can get where maybe he was trying to, overthink it, just go a little too big brain. But I don't
So
know. It's fun.
so for a follow-up question on that, it's kind of uncanny, but do you think he's turning into the next Andy Reid too, where he could go to 6 straight NFC Championship games and then get fired because he can't win the big one, and then go somewhere else and win?
It's interesting.
It's getting there, isn't it? It's getting close to that rhetoric.
I guess that's maybe does that just come from the franchise, like a storied franchise like the 49ers? I feel it could get away with something like that. Firing a coach that still took you that far. But look at the Jags, or maybe not the Lions now, but a team like maybe the Falcons. They would kill to be in the NFC Championship. Half of the last few years, even if it doesn't come with a win in the NFC Championship. So I think it might just come down to like the caliber of the franchise. Me as a Colts fan, I'd settle for Super Bowl losses.
Yeah, me too.
The crap we've gone through lately.
As a Vikings fan, I agree with you.
Oh yeah, you don't even have a chip yet, huh?
Yeah, I don't even haven't even seen it. So yeah.
Kelsey, we had 10 targets, 9 catches, 93 yards. Not a great 23 fantasy season for him at all. That ADP was dropping. What do you think this does for it? His playoff run. Do you think he's going to still be a top 3 tight end coming off the board in 2024?
I think what we saw from him in the playoffs is what we're going to keep seeing from him in the playoffs. For the regular season, we obviously now know that the Chiefs aren't playing for the regular season. They're playing for the postseason. So he left his best ball for the postseason, and that's where he's going to stay. Because he's going to be 35. Like he's got to hold on to some of that. He can't take all those hits and stuff anymore, or even have that kind of production when the big picture. And now that they have 3, he obviously knows what the big picture is, and he wants to stay and keep on that run forever. So I would expect them to try to get another weapon, so they don't have to rely on him a lot during the regular season. But Rashee Rice is a good starting point for sure. But I would like to see Rashee Rice more in the wide receiver 2 role, and then going to grab someone else.
100%. I guess when we start tearing apart wide receivers, maybe we can find one that you really like to go to Kansas City.
Maybe.
Rumors have been spilling. I saw a handful about possibly Ayuk coming up on the trading block coming into this offseason, just maybe the 49ers not being able to afford him plus all the other pieces. What's your percentage chance we see Ayuk get moved at some point in the next year?
I think we have a really good chance of seeing Ayuk move to where. I don't know yet, but kicking the can down the road finally is coming back to bite him. So I'm excited to have Brock Purdy lose a weapon.
Right.
I'm not going to be a 49er hater, but I'm glad he's losing a weapon.
It's wild to think your starting quarterback's making less than $1 million and you still might not have enough cap.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. So it's just like they've been doing the salary cap gymnastics. They've been making the trades that no other franchise is doing. So you have to commend them for that, because you just wish your franchise would do that. So then you would be the hated franchise. But my team hasn't done it. So I hope Brandon Ayuk goes somewhere and gets the bag, because he is coming. So we're going to be talking prospects later. I did not like Ayuk coming out, and he has proven me wrong for sure. So he's bringing some love back into the bigger wide receiver aspect.
He's an odd prospect, that's for sure. Ayuk, he produces, but he does it in such a different way, and I think that all comes down to that 49ers system, that the shenanigans.
Yes.
Awesome. You got anything else from the Super Bowl you want to talk about?
So with Tom Brady coming to the booth next year, do you think Greg Olsen stays with Fox, or do you think they would ditch Tony Romo from CBS now? Or what's your thoughts on Tony Romo?
Romo was great. I will say he came out hot that first season or 2. I did enjoy it. I feel like he's trying too hard. I feel like he's falling into what Aikman did right when Tony got hot, and now he feels the pressure of Olsen, because I think Olsen might be one of the best we have out there as far as NFL. And I don't know, there's just so many times Tony's up there making noises and grunting and talking to Jim about this and that. We're just throwing out stuff that doesn't need to be said. I think the final play of the game speaks to itself. Like, you want to feel that moment because it was a hard moment to feel because the game ended the way it did, just with the walk-off touchdown. And you've got Romo just running his mouth, dude. Like, let me watch the confetti fall down. Let me take in this moment of what actually just happened. So I don't know if Greg Olsen becomes available, CBS should grab him for sure.
Yeah,
But
I 100% agree with you because Greg Olsen, he does everything that Tony Romo can do. He can predict, but he also explains the game a little bit better. Not in like, I guess in the quarterback way. Like he explains the game in layman's terms and he makes you feel good about it. And that's what I really like about Greg Olsen. But you're 100% right. Like I listened to the Tony Romo call, then I listened to the radio call from Kevin Harlan.
yeah,
And he was like excited during the play, like that's it. Then he was silent and just let it be.
yeah,
And you're just like, let me live this moment because I'm never going to be able to live this moment. And I know I watch it every year, but that's the moment I want to see, like.
absolutely.
So I agree with you.
Yeah, I think honestly, ESPN and Amazon are onto something. The way that they have multiple views, like you can watch the Manning cast or the normal, or like Amazon has their X-ray vision or whatever it is,
That
where you get the
StatCast one,
analytics.
yeah, I like that one.
I think Tom Brady's going to be too smart for the average football watcher. I think he should have his own section for the obsessors, the people who are watching a dynasty show on YouTube in the off season right now. Like, I think that he could really come to us, and then you've got Greg Olsen who can bridge to more of the casual fan, and
Yep.
then maybe even get like Pat McAfee's messing around there, so get some sort of like light commentary where it's like a comedian or something like that. But
Exactly.
I think that's where the game should evolve to as far as watching and observing, like cater to the different types of people. The Nickelodeon cast, the Toy Story game was so freaking cool.
Yeah, I was watching a little bit of the SpongeBob cast because I was putting a 6-month-old to bed, so it was like, I loved it actually. They had some good jokes and stuff like that. So I was laughing with that, but yeah, agreed. So it'll be interesting to see Tony or Tom Brady come in because I think you're 100% accurate in that he might be too smart for his own good.
I barely understand him half the time when he's talking about stuff. I'm like, dude, what are you? Oh, okay, that makes sense. I get it there, Thomas.
Yep.
He studies. He does a bit of studying, that's for sure. Well, let's wrap up that Super Bowl because we got to look forward to 2024. Let's dive into these rookies. Now, of course, we will be doing our deep dive series over the next couple months once we get the combine information. But today's just more of let's dip the toe in, if you will. Wet the whistle. We're going to go over some names, make sure that you're familiar with some of these bigger people. And, of course, Cody's going to fill us in with some great insight to all these wonderful players. So, most important position, quarterback. Caleb Williams, I don't know how much time we really need to spend with him, but what's your thoughts initially with Caleb?
He's the best quarterback in this draft. I don't think Chicago is the place for him, though.
Oh, he's not the best.
Yeah, he's not the best, but also I'm a Vikings fan, so I don't think Chicago should have anything nice. So but I think they would just ruin what he can be, but they already have a good thing in Justin Fields, and I think they should just keep going with that and get as much as they can out of the Patriots or the Commanders to move up.
So your team trade down for the Bears?
Yeah, I'm team trade down for sure. I definitely am. It's just, I don't know, the rhetoric coming out with like Caleb Williams camp too, like that's coming out from somewhere, and obviously it can't be coming out from Caleb. So I think it's actually coming out from the Bears, just to kind of just be like, yeah, we don't really want him, but we're gonna take him, see, so you can give us more. But
right,
that's what I think is. There's so much jockeying right now, so
yeah, you can't believe hardly anything that's coming out, including this show. What do we know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's an emotional side here for this with the Bears. Like, they have never had a franchise quarterback. So, like, I'm just at the point I just want them to make the right decision. I really don't know what that is, whether that's keep Fields, trade down and get May or Daniels maybe. But whatever they do, I just hope they get the right decision because, God, you got to feel bad for the Bears.
For sure. What are your thoughts on Drake May or Jaden Daniels?
I'm excited. Jaden Daniels obviously is going to be the new hotness as far as the rushing quarterback this year. But Drake May, I don't think it should be. He's very he had a lot more running to his game than I initially thought, like peeling back his numbers. So I was kind of impressed with that. Maybe not obviously running to the likes of, you know, a Kyler or a Lamar, but we may be getting something minimal out of him like we do see out of Lawrence from time to time, or Herbert. You know, maybe he can pull in 2 to 4 touchdowns every season with that. So I'm excited to see what he can do, and hopefully Trubisky doesn't ruin the UNC name for teams.
Yeah, it was interesting because Caleb Williams and Drake May had probably 2 of the worst lines in college football last year. So Drake May had to make or create from something out of nothing. So he's got a lot of bad tape because of that, but it wasn't really his fault. And kind of some of Caleb Williams's bad tape as well is the same thing. Like the line just didn't hold up. Even NFL quarterbacks right now, if they don't have more than 3 seconds, there's gonna be mistakes. That's just the name of the game, right? But that's where a lot of their mistakes are coming from, is bad lines. So even the worst line in the NFL is better than the line that UNC had. That line was atrocious. So I'm excited. I'm an LSU fan, so I'm biased. I do like Jaden Daniels. I think he could be the next best thing. He just needs to go to a team that believes in his running ability. And that's why I think they should probably keep Fields, the Bears, because I think they're finally going to just buy into Fields and just let him be what he is. He's a good, accurate passer, but let him use his legs as a weapon. They're learning now that you don't need to be Cam Newton size to be good at rushing. Learn how to slide. Look at what Lamar Jackson did. He was still good in his rushing upside, but he learned how to slide and not take the big hits. He didn't take any big hits this year. So I'd be watching Lamar Jackson tape on how to rush with the ball as a quarterback.
Yeah, I like that. And even hearing, I saw that Cliff Kingsbury, the new OC for the Commanders, came out saying that he's looking for a quarterback with rushing ability. So if Caleb Williams does end up going number 1, do we see Jaden Daniels jump into that number 2 spot? You know, of course, Drake May does have a little bit to his game, but I think that's an interesting facet to kind of see how this draft's going to pan out. J.J. McCarthy, obviously coming off a national championship. He's getting all sorts of buzz. Is this real to you, or is this Will Levis? Because we saw Will Levis get rumors at the last second that he was going 2nd overall, and then the guy drops all the way down to the 2nd round. So
I think I think it is true. I think he is real, and he's one of the younger ones in the draft. He's, 21?
21, yeah.
Drake May is 21 in a few months. So but these other guys are 22, 23, almost 24. So there's a lot of learning and a lot of growth there for JJ McCarthy coming in here, but he didn't play for 7 fourth quarters this year out of their 14, 15 games. So yeah, his stats aren't going to be there because he wasn't playing because his team was too good. You can't fault him for that out of the stats, but he didn't have the best weapons either. But I mean, Roman Wilson is now, climbing up boards as well, and AJ Barner is there as well. So he had weapons. He had
team
weapons.
Definitely went through Blake Corum for sure.
Yeah, for sure, and Donovan Edwards. But I think it is true. I think it is real, and I think he's going to show something at the combine. I really do.
I sure hope so. We need more quarterbacks in the NFL. We've got a decent amount in the AFC right now. The NFC needs an influx, so let's make it happen. You mentioned the age of the quarterback. Jaden Daniels being 23, Bo Nix from Oregon, and also Michael Penix. All 3 of those guys are 23 years old. I did a little digging, went back through every quarterback that has been played a snap since 2003. It's been 277 quarterbacks. Of that, 58 of them were 23 or older. Only 4 of those guys posted a top 24 season at all. So we're looking at a 6.9% hit rate from round, essentially any day 3 pick. So, or not, I'm sorry, not day 3 pick.
23 and up.
23 and up. Let's look at my next stat. But yeah, so these quarterbacks that are getting taken later, they have these appeal to them, but that breakout age is so pivotal.
Yeah,
we are dealing with weird circumstances with COVID. Some of these guys played a little bit longer, but I am very hesitant about some of these players just because of that age cliff.
So out of those 3 that you mentioned, I'm less hesitant on Daniels, obviously, but it just I keep seeing positive growth with Daniels, and that's why, especially, I mean, just looking at his stats, he's had positive growth coming from Arizona State all the way to LSU. So I think I'm less worried about him, and he just turned 23, so
yeah, his rushing upside,
but,
I think, saves him.
But Bo Nix has rushing upside, but the biggest factor for me when I watched him, I watched some Auburn tape, and then I watched his Oregon tape, and he might be, out of the top 10 quarterbacks I had, he might be the worst at progressions. Like, he does not look in the middle of the field really well. And I was like, man, this is terrible in Auburn. And then I started seeing it in Oregon. You remember last week when I said I like Cole Turner and Romeo Dobbs?
Yeah.
I kept looking at, Troy Franklin a little bit more and being like, man, he saved Bo Nix. Bo Nix, if Bo Nix won the Heisman, he should have been giving it to Troy Franklin.
Oh, I'm excited for Franklin. I've done just a little film review of him, and he's got some cool plays. Oh,
yeah.
Let's move away from these quarterbacks a little bit, and let's head to what a lot are calling a very disappointing running back class this year. We don't have that blue chip piece that we've seen in the past with Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan, Breece Hall the year before. So jumping into these guys, is there anybody that's really jumping off the page as a tier 1 player for you in this class?
There's 2, maybe 3, but I'm a big Braylon Allen guy. I just am. And
he's a big guy.
He's a big guy. And you're talking about breakout age. His breakout age was like 18. He has the best rushing stats because, Wisconsin's been awful in the passing game, yes, but he's only 20 years old coming into the league. He just turned 20.
Yeah.
So it's like, if I'm an NFL franchise and there's running backs like this off the board, the only other one, if Jonathan Brooks was taken, I'm probably taking Braylon Allen because when his rookie contract's up, he's going to be 24. So I'm going to take that upside rather than Ray Davis, who's already 24, maybe 25 when he's coming into the league. He's going to be 28 when he gets his second contract. So I'm going to take the Braylon Allen cheap contract first, and then I'd probably get another cheap one after him, and then he's finally run out. So if I can get 8 years out of a draft pick at the running back position, I'm going to take it every day.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jonathan Brooks, he's smooth. If he didn't have that injury, he'd be probably everyone's bona fide running back 1. But he's got it all too. He's got good. He's probably one of the better route runners in the draft for running backs. So in this day and age, that's a huge aspect of it.
I think the hard part for me, again, he's 20 years old, so when he tears ACL, was it November, I believe?
Yep,
October? So he's not going to be starting the season off, probably going to a team where he won't be the guy. So I guess my big worry with him is, how long does it start? Is it his second season in when we're really starting to talk about this guy when he's going to get that opportunity?
Yeah, it's kind of like Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. It's like, is Charbonnet finally going to chip into that snap count or not this year?
Yeah, Braylon Allen, he's something special at 6'2", 245. He's got some question marks, some flags on his game, but like you really hit on the biggest piece. He's 20 years old. He has plenty of time to get it figured out. Take a little bit of time as the big bruiser in the backfield, in some sort of 2-3-headed monster. Definitely 2 of the favorite guys I have as well. Who else? I've seen a lot of talk with Marshawn Lloyd at a USC. There has been a good amount of love for him on Twitter. Or X, whichever one you're on.
I think he's gonna surprise people with how high he actually gets drafted because he does have he's one of the better blockers in the league for sure. The other one that's getting a lot of love is Bucky Irving from Oregon. He was also really dynamic, and he's probably another one of the best pass catchers in this draft. And he can scoot. What are your thoughts on? You mentioned him already, but what are your thoughts on Blake Corum?
He's going back. You do research. 24 is the peak age for a NFL running back. Blake Corum is 23 years old. So Ray Davis is almost out of it. He's 24 in a few months. So that's my biggest hesitancy with a handful of these guys that there's parts of their game I do like. They're just old. So their opportunity to be great is going to be these first couple of years. So if they're not getting those opportunities, a nice landing spot, then these guys are I don't know how much they're going to be worth to us, outside of like spots, spot starters. So, uh,
Yeah.
did great at Michigan. Little guy, he's only 5'8", 213 though. Got a little bit of weight to him.
Well, that, and I think they've already, yeah, like you said, he's almost 24 already, and they've already used him as the bell cow, even though he split snaps with Donovan Edwards. Like, it was almost a 50-50 split, and I like Edwards a little bit better than Corum. So it's just, yeah, I liked him, like, just based off some of the games I watched. It's like, yeah, Edwards seemed more dynamic and everything like that. I think Corum should have came out last year, because I think that would have helped his stock a little bit. But I think he didn't hurt his stock, but I think it's just the same.
Yeah, he got himself a chip. He's happy. Maybe
it's fair. The one guy that really, or the two guys that really helped themselves this year was Jalen Wright out of Tennessee and Audric Estime from Notre Dame. Estime was a huge name there at the beginning of the year. Kind of fell off, so it'll be interesting to see if he has that freshman slump, like when the game 12 comes and stuff like that, or game 16. See how hot and heavy he is, but he's one of the bigger backs as well. So I don't know. There's not many running backs in the last few years. Like, I mean, Bijan and Brees are big, but they're not like Saquon's thigh big. And I think we have two of them with Estime and Allen. Like, they're Derrick Henry size, and
gotta love those.
I think there's still something about those running backs that have worth, especially now because both of these guys can have receiving ability. So I think that's another aspect.
And I think it's fun too. Like, we see so much of a you go back 3-4 years when we talk about these prospects, when running backs and wide receivers are underneath a certain weight threshold, we completely cut them out. And I feel like it's been the last 2 years especially, we've had that proven wrong. Look at, Devon Achane coming out this past year. Flowers was undersized. Josh Downs was very much undersized. And we're seeing the NFL evolve to that. We're now a very heavy zone coverage and defense now because of that, having to offset with that. So, these big-bodied receivers that played up against man defense, they're just not, they're not what they used to be, like with Calvin Johnsons and the Julio Jones and stuff like that. But at what point do we tilt so far that we are able to sway back? Defensive players, what happens when they get big enough and fast enough that they can just stop these little guys? And then, do we get that pendulum swing back to where we start seeing more guys like Braylon Allen be appreciated because of his size? So I think it's interesting because I feel like we're very much in an extreme part of the sway, seeing how much everything has changed in the body type. So I'm excited to see when we finally kind of get that kicked back dramatically by some team that just comes out there and plays bully ball,
Exactly. It's going to happen. We all know it will, because that's the NFL. So I can't wait to see it.
Speaking of things I can't wait to see, let's go to wide receivers because we got a Colts player namesake coming out here. It's finally that time. Marvin Harrison Jr. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited. I can't wait for the Laramie Tunsil picture to pop up that I make on AI. He's got the gas mask on and he falls down to 15 and the Colts can take him. But while I keep dreaming, tell me about him.
He's a technician. He's just, like I said in my article, he's a wide receiver technician. He can play every position and play it well. He's going to test off the charts, and he kind of looks slow off the line, but I think it's just because his legs are so long that, how some taller people run, they don't look fast.
Yeah. 6'5", I look like a baby giraffe when I run.
That's how he kind of runs too. So, like, there's no question. Like, some people are arguing that O'Dunes and Neighbors are getting up into that and they wouldn't take Marvin Harrison Jr. I say, if Marvin Harrison Jr. is not the first wide receiver off the draft board, fire those scouts, because he's got the name. He's got everything that you need. He's got the background. He's got the stats. He's got the physical capabilities. He's got everything.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of pedigree that comes with being the son of a Hall of Famer. He's seen he's seen the inside of the NFL for a long time. He understands what it takes, the work ethic. He's been set up. So I feel like just that alone gives him that extra edge, despite Neighbors possibly being in the same tier or just outside of that tier with him, because we see amazing things coming from Neighbors. But Marvin Harrison, 21 years old, 6'4", 205. Can't say enough about him. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just locking up over here, getting all giddy. I can't wait to see him out on a field.
Yeah. And like, it's funny because he does everything good. Like, it was really hard to put cons on Marvin Harrison Jr. because he already does everything good, at least good. There's really nothing that he can improve on. A lot of things like routes and stuff. Like, he rounds off his routes a little bit too much, but that's also because it was kind of just easy in college. So he probably can do that. He just didn't have to. So
Yeah.
he was a fun watch.
So, question for you. I got to put you on the spot here.
Perfect.
Start up dynasty rankings. Where do you put in Marvin Harrison Jr.? Is he in your top 5? Is he in your top 10?
In Dynasty overall or just rookie?
Dynasty overall.
He's in my top 10. He's probably teetering on top 5, but he's definitely top 10.
With Amon-Ra, he's still above Marvin Harrison?
Barely, but just because of how this year went. It really just seeing how he actually blossomed into a wide receiver one. And this is tough for me because I've been a Amon-Ra St. Brown hater. I'll say it. I've been a hater on him.
Same.
It just I just haven't seen it. But this year there was just something about it and how he went about his business that I really liked. So I think he has it. And the surprise one that I would probably put, I mean, obviously Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and AJ Brown, I would and CeeDee Lamb, but I would put AJ Brown up there right now too, just because I've seen him do things already.
Yeah, I think he's going to fit in right about that.
One. Yeah,
that Garrett Wilson tier, I think, is right about where you're going to find him.
Right now,
the guys that haven't quite proven it, but have that ability to. They're just it's situation, circumstantial kind of.
Exactly, and I think he can overtake AJ Brown, but I need to see it first.
Malik Neighbors, another guy who is just going to get showered with love this draft. Is he right there for you? Right up there at the top?
He's definitely up there at the top, but he's easily my number 2 behind Marvin Harrison Jr. because he has some. I don't think he's actually an outside receiver at the moment. Like he needs to learn how to do that a little bit better, but he complimented his outside receiver, Brian Thomas Jr. a lot, that Brian Thomas Jr. is going to get drafted probably in the second or third round.
Right.
Probably
17 touchdowns.
Yeah. Like he brought it in a lot higher. Like he didn't need to show that he was an outside receiver just based off of the play makeup, but everyone's looking for the next Debo. Malik Neighbors might be it. Samuel coming out 5'11", 214. Neighbors coming out 6 foot, 200 pounds. They have what differentiates Neighbors from everyone, even Marvin Harrison, is his lower half. He's got the strongest legs and the best balance. Mm-hmm. So if he can get into an offense like San Francisco's where they run Debo like that, he's going to flourish. He might have the easiest path to be fantasy relevant. I would say that first year.
Yeah.
Overall, I think he'd have the best chance of being fantasy relevant.
Yeah, where he might fall, he might have that better situation than Marvin Harrison.
Yep.
Oh, God. If either one of these guys go to the Patriots,
it's going to be rough.
Riot.
Yes, I agree.
Riot.
I agree.
Oh, God. It's the last thing we want to see. We got Rome Odunze coming out of Washington. He had a great year with Michael Penix up there. 21 years old, should be about 22 by the time the season starts. 6'3", 215. I love the size. As we were kind of talking about that pendulum swinging with players. Marvin Harrison at 6'4", Odunze at 6'3", Brian Thomas Jr. at 6'4", Troy Franklin at 6'3", and then Mitchell and Coleman at 6'4". Like, this is a big class. And as I kind of said, I'm a bigger guy, so like I'm cool. Like, bring my big folks out here, all the other fellow trees.
That's really funny because I'm a short king. You know, I could say I'm 5'6" and I'm probably 5'4.5", but I agree.
My best friend in college, he was 5'6" in boots, is how he told people.
Exactly. I'm 5'6" in boots for sure. But I think it's just like when you were talking about the pendulum. I think it's happening again because like there's a lot of big-bodied wide receivers in this class, but they're having the speed to back it up.
Hmm.
They're having that explosive burst to back it up. So they're learning their footwork has been better and all that. And Odunze is another big aspect of that. And what? Everyone on this list except for Lad McConkey is under 22. So like they have lots of years to go. There's a
Gotta
lot of
love
good
that.
talent. Like, you're not gonna be mad at any of the guys in the top. I would say probably top 12. But Rome Odunze, the biggest thing right now is the outside voices. Some of his family members or crew have given him some bad press. So
Ooh.
I haven't heard it in like a few weeks now. So maybe he's finally nipped it in the bud. He's got all the talent in the world. Let his talent talk. Let him do his interviews in at the scouting combine and just let his stats do the talking for him. These people don't need to talk him up. He's already a top 3 wide receiver in this class.
These are big bodied guys, and I think all three. I'm seeing like usually about 4 to 6 wide receivers going in the first round. So if we get draft capital for a lot of these guys, it is going to be happy hunting for the NFL this year.
So a big thing I've seen in this draft that's a little different than the others is there's a lot of teammates in the wide receivers, right? You have LSU with Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas. You have Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell for Texas. You have Florida State with Kean Coleman and Johnny Wilson. And I mean, let's not forget Washington too. They have 3 guys coming out. They have Rome Odunze, they have Jalen McMillan and Jalen Polk. Like, do you think that's NIL doing that? Or is it just these 5-star programs getting guys and then
you would think that would make a lot of sense that, the money's talk. This is where we finally see the money in college talking a little bit more. We're seeing some of these programs dump guys out. And, you really can't even blame the COVID years on this because, like you said, all these guys are young. So this isn't, like kind of where we saw some of the running backs are staying with these teams.
Yep.
I don't know. It's interesting, though. We've got some great quarterbacks coming out of Texas over the next couple of years. So seeing them light it up with these wide receivers. And obviously LSU, we just talked about Jaden Daniels. He's being a top prospect. And then Penix with these Washington wide receivers. So I think we're just seeing a lot of elite play come from a handful of these Power 5 schools.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see where all these guys land. So,
do you have a favorite between the 2 Texas fellows?
I like Worthy just a little bit more, and it's kind of just the same kind of thing between Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. I think Worthy can show a little bit more than what he did this year, but he complements his teammates really well, and I think that's an unsung talent that gets overlooked because it's not analytical. It doesn't show up on tape, but he made Mitchell better because he was drawing the best guy. He was drawing double teams to making his other teammate that's very good just a little bit better. And if you have a good quarterback in college, I think that's a big thing. And that's what I think Neighbors did with Brian Thomas Jr. as well. So I would put Worthy just slightly higher. But again, what are you looking for? Are you looking for the 6'1", 175-pound dude that can do punt returns and a bunch of gadget plays? Or do you want the big body wide receiver in Mitchell that's 6'4", 200 pounds?
It's a great point. Just because of all these previous wide receivers being drafted, it being the smaller, do we see these bigger ones get taken over that? But, then you got Quentin Johnson problems right there. So
Quentin Johnson problems. You have Jonathan Mingo problems. So, but Jonathan Mingo got a lot of praise. And I think we might have Mingo effect with Mitchell just because he is big and he's going to test really well. But I don't think his feet are ready for the NFL yet. He needs about a year or 2 under his belt to get a feel for cornerback speed in the NFL and to help with his breaks.
Which completely makes sense because, 5-8 years ago, the year 3 breakout is what we talked about with wide receivers. Sometimes year 2 with these elite stars, but year 3 is what we really looked for in our wide receivers. So we've very much been spoiled over the last 4 years with some of these guys coming out like Waddle, Devonta Smith, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb. These guys are just ready immediately in their rookie season, and we're spoiled.
We've been really spoiled with a lot of talent, but this year is no different. The top is stacked. If you're just patient with some of the guys that are in the middle, you're going to be happy with them. They're
Yeah,
still
I think
they're still 5 to 10 year starters, so it's like
right.
I'm not going to be mad
Landing
about
spot's
that.
going to be the big bugaboo with a lot of these guys, but
Exactly.
as we see, a lot of players we have not even on radars land in that perfect spot, and all of a sudden we're talking about them as a top 8, top 10 rookie wide receiver. So
Exactly.
before we slide to tight end, is there anybody else you want to mention, or anybody else we kind of grazed over?
Lad McConkey's going to keep going up boards because he's one, got the number 1 name in the draft, and 2, he's the one short guy that I think he's really good intermediate routes and short routes, and his route breaks are pretty good. So I can see
Made
him.
a lot of noise at the Senior Bowl,
and he did. So I think that's where he's going to raise his stock a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised to see him as a day 2 pick.
going to a team like the Patriots. Oh no, Bill Belichick's gone. Never mind.
Yeah, so maybe
those gym rat players, those slot guys. Yeah,
I think that's what maybe the Chargers are missing, a guy like that. So if they take one of those smaller guys, they already have the big weapons in Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
They need someone that can just take an underneath route and just get them a few yards or create space for the other 2.
And the Chargers picking what, 5, 6 this year?
Yeah, I think so. They won't take him
early and grab Odunze.
You could, yeah, that'd be nice.
Neighbors, if he's still there. Woo!
Ooh, that would be nice.
Some Herbert. Ooh, I love that. Well, the tight end, are there really multiple tight ends to talk about here? Because Brock Bowers, goodness, I've known about this kid since he was like 4.5 years old. It's all we've talked about. It's finally come. And if he busts, so help me. This dude, like, he has too much hype behind him. He cannot bust. That's probably the pretty crappy thing, is there's too much hype behind this. But 21 years old, 6'4", 240. Give me the rundown on Brock Bowers for those that don't know.
It's like Marvin Harrison. He just does everything well. He's one of the best, if not the best blocker. He's the best receiver. He's got the size. He's got the weight. He's got everything. So it's more like we can talk about Brock Bowers all day long, but it really comes down to who else is here. Mm-hmm. I think a guy that's not close to the number 1, but the next guy that will definitely be, and is the consensus tight end too, it would be Jatavian Sanders out of Texas. He's got the same build. He's a little younger, but he has no lick of blocking. But he's going to be really fast. Like, I think people are going to be surprised on how fast Jatavian Sanders actually is at the combine. And I mean, he transferred from Alabama, so obviously Nick Saban saw a lot in him, but he doesn't treat tight ends very well. So yeah, he got out of there, and then now he's skyrocketed. But out of Bowers and Sanders, it gets a little thin, but there's still some guys there.
Yeah, there's a handful. I was going through some PFF grades, and Cade Stover from Ohio State had some decent grades in a handful of areas. AJ Barner was, I think, top 6 in a handful of grades, but like, it's just not enough for me to really love, and especially not the rookie year. These are probably going to be 3 to 5 years in before they actually may be anything in fantasy football dynasty.
You talk about Cade Stover and Theo Johnson, I'll put in the same category. Look at their age. Cade Stover is almost 24. Theo Johnson's almost 23. I don't want to spend my rookie capital on a 24-year-old tight end. I'm just not going to do it. So I'd rather take my chances on the 23-year-old wide receiver.
100%.
So it's a tough one, but I do have some tight end trivia for you.
Ooh, give it to me. Love trivia.
So for the scouting combine, especially coming up, I'm very excited for it. And this is a shout out to my boy Thomas. We've been looking at this, and he is analytical like you, Brian. And he found that there's one surefire way to know if a tight end will get drafted. Do you know what that is for scouting combine?
Oh, man. I don't. Give it to me.
So there's a lot of really relevant things at the combine, but the one thing that is kind of getting lackadaisical is 40 time.
Okay.
Like, no one really cares about quarterback 40 times anymore, right? Unless you have rushing upside. Even with rushing upside, you can still run a 4.5 and be good. 40 time for tight end is dire.
Okay.
If there is a tight end that runs 4.8 seconds or higher, just take him off your board.
Interesting.
We're just taking
him off completely.
There hasn't been a tight end in the last 10 years that has produced fantasy wise or even started really that has been 4.8 or higher.
No kidding.
So they need to be a little bit more athletic. You don't even need to be good at blocking at tight end anymore. Look at Evan Ingram. Like he ran a 4.4 and he's one of the best receivers on Jacksonville, right? So it just the tight end position is the most athletic it has been. And after Brock Bowers and Sanders, that drop off really falls off. So I think after Bowers and Sanders, we're going to see a big run of wide receivers and running backs, and maybe even a little bit of more quarterbacks before we see the third tight end taken.
Yeah, none of these guys outside of those first two, and really Sanders, like he may excite me, but does he produce? Does he get the
exactly?
It's not necessarily can rookie tight ends not produce, because that's always been the stigma is rookie tight ends don't produce. It's that they don't get the opportunity to produce.
Yep.
This year we saw a huge influx in that with Laporta and Kincaid.
Yeah,
Michael Mayer made he jumped in there a little bit. There's a handful of guys, but they got the opportunity, and that's what's changing here. It's not that you can all of a sudden trust rookie tight ends. Don't trust them, folks.
Yeah, you can't
trust
them.
That opportunity. It's that situation. So I think
this is why we also have third and fourth round picks in rookie drafts, right? That's where you start eating with tight end, because we all know that tight end is the barren wasteland of fantasy. So I need to find the youngest ones and make sure that they hit in year 2 or 3. Or if they don't hit, I can trade them at their highest peak, so then I can get a second round pick back for my next flex wide receiver.
100%.
So
honestly, taking those picks and trading them for those athletic third and fourth year, the Chigakonkwo's, the Cole Turners, the
even Gerald Everett still has them. Yep, Gerald Everett has some play still.
100%.
It's just like trade those for those third and fourth round guys and update it with like a Brevin Spann-Ford out of Minnesota. I love that guy. Big guy, can run in the slot, best blocker.
Yep.
But it's just I would take the Flyers in round 3 or round 4. I'm not expecting anyone other than Bowers and Sanders going in the first 2 rounds of rookie drafts. I wouldn't.
Mm-hmm. Well, before we roll out of here, then Brock Bowers, tight end extraordinaire. You have a preference where you might like to see him go in the draft? We've got the Chargers at 5, Giants at 6, Atlanta at 8. They always need another tight end.
Man, him with the Chargers would be nice.
Jets at 10, maybe? Do you think they?
Yeah, the Jets and Chargers, just out of the teams that you've said, I would like those 2 places a lot. Because Aaron Rodgers would. Huh? Yeah. Indianapolis might need one. You don't believe in Jelani Woods anymore?
Or Kylan Granson, or any of the 4 tight ends they have.
I say Jelani Woods because I think he still has the potential, and he's not as old as the other 2. He might be.
He's the most exciting for sure.
He is definitely the most exciting, but yeah, if you can get Brock Bowers at that position, you're getting a steal.
Yeah. So there's no way Ballard's picking a first rounder. He's trading back. I know it.
But yeah, I would love to see Aaron Rodgers and Brock Bowers connection in New York Jets. That'd be nice. I do like my boy Tyler Conklin, but I would give him up for Bowers for sure. And Chargers, just something with Harbaugh, man. I'm just excited to watch the Chargers, and if they get another weapon like that, I would be really excited to watch him. I just would. But I don't know. I think it's hard to gauge what he's gonna do at 5. The Chargers are the biggest wild card at their position, so he might go Bowers, and I wouldn't be mad.
I'm getting so excited here. We don't even have free agency or the combine yet. I can't wait for this draft. Can't wait for the season. But before we get out of here, everybody, can't thank you enough for hanging out with us, jumping in, watching, listening, wherever you are. Cody, where's everybody going to find your stuff at?
On X or Twitter, formerly known at Cody Folden. I write and kind of repost everything that Dynasty Pros does, so you'll see me on there. I have a few tweets here and there, but I usually just focus on that. And then if you join the Dynasty Pros Discord, if you have any Dynasty questions, we'll answer them in there and all that kind of stuff. So pretty just around my personal account and Dynasty Pros. What about you, Brian?
Nice. Yeah, you'll find me on Twitter as well at @too_much_Brian. I'm trying to pop in as much as I can with some Dynasty Pros content, hopefully all over the video. And then, of course, can't get enough of me. You can find me on my other podcast, Too Much Movie Night and Too Much Shenanigans. But as far as football, 4th and Dynasty is where it's at. Well, from all of us here at 4th and Dynasty, we'll talk to you all next time.